If you missed Amy Woods of Content 10X, we were talking about repurposing last week, and we continue on our chat with Amy this week. We're talking about, I suppose, how can you ensure that your repurposed content can remain relevant? And we also start to explore maybe some of the tools that maybe help you, or maybe you need to be watched out when you are content repurposing. So stay tuned.
Yay, we're back again. And Amy, thanks so much for words of wisdom regarding everything content repurposing. You have motivated us to keep going with the old video, haven't we, Philip?
100%, yeah. And it's up on the podcast, so check it out.
On YouTube.
The first part.
But anyway, talking of favorite tools, Philip, and that kind of thing, one of ours is Days of the Year. And
Absolutely.
Today, can you believe it? It is Social Media Day. Woohoo!
It's our favorite day of the year, isn't it?
It's like Christmas.
It is. I think it actually was started by Mashable. Did you read Mashable, Amy? Yeah, a fairly famous blog.
So how did they decide today is Social Media Day?
I think they decided to kind of come up with a number of years back.
Right.
They have a big, huge readership, and they decided that they were going to make today Social Media Day, but I'm sure every day is Social Media Day with us parents.
I know. Yeah. You know, it's not going away, so might as well make it every day. Well, not every day. You need the odd break, you know, otherwise it will be overwhelmed, you know, that way. And you won't get time, you know, if you don't take a break, you won't be able to get inspiration for your content repurposing. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But we are delighted to be joined again by Amy Woods, and Amy is a content repurposing expert, the owner and founder of Content 10X. And as we found out last week, Content 10X is the first and the longest running content repurposing agency. Actually, I haven't heard of another agency that does content repurposing. So Amy is definitely knocking it out of the park. And author, podcaster, helping B2B businesses, really mainly tech professional services, but really up content repurposing. And as you will find from our chat last week with Amy and from this chat, content repurposing is one content marketing tactic you need to have in your arsenal. So welcome back, Amy, for more knowledge to be dropped.
Thank you for having me back. It's great to be here.
Do you like that intro? I took a drink before I came on air, and I made sure that I knocked that intro on par. So
well, we get you back to repurpose it, Philip.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, you know. Before we jump in with you, Amy, again, because we've got loads more to ask you. Guys, go over and check out the podcast. I know we keep saying it, but we really do feel that you're going to miss some really, you know, golden nuggets with Amy. So go over and you can check us on the Dublin South FM website, also Podbeam, iTunes, Spotify, and video. Yeah, Philip.
Yeah.
Hint.
Yeah. Head over there to see myself, Emer, and Amy on the YouTube channel on the Let's Get Social show. So if you like what we're doing, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss any of our new videos, and leave us a comment to give us any ideas of future shows.
Yeah. And if you prefer to email us, you can at inquiries@dublinsouthfm.ie. So, and we hopefully will get whatever you would like turned into a show. So again, we might even be able to repurpose the odd thing too, Philip. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think after this chat with Amy, we'll be able to repurpose anything. So I think let's dive in, Amy. We sort of hinted at it towards the end of the last show when we started to kind of touch on the use of AI or Chat GPT.
It's everywhere.
Like in your experience, Amy, kind of tools, platforms, and even kind of using Chat GPT, some of these AI tools for content repurposing. What have you come across that you like, and what are some of the things that business need to be wary of when using tools for content repurposing?
I think in terms of tools, so without talking straight away about AI and Chat GPT, I think it's a very organized, like very systematic process where you can set processes in place to get good at repurposing, making sure that when you create the certain thing that you always repurpose it in the same way and try to get consistent with that. So I think there are some good tools that people can be aware of for that, which would be project management tools like Trello and Asana and ClickUp and Basecamp. They're all very similar. Trello is probably a good starting point, actually, to really help you set up some checklists and some processes and follow them to get it consistent at your repurposing. So I'd really recommend tools like that. I think when it comes to creating like graphics, graphics for your podcasts or videos and social media images, things like that, you know, most people will have heard of it, but you can't beat Canva. So if you're not,
we're there with
every day,
definitely,
brilliant tool. But then also, you know, when you've got videos and you turn them into social media videos and getting captions on them and things like that. There's a couple of tools I'd recommend people go look at. One's called Veed, Veed.
I've heard of that one.
Is Clipscribe. Yeah, they're good. They're good for getting captions onto videos and also cutting videos down, like to longer videos into social media videos and things like that.
Out of the two, which is your favorite, would you say?
Well, I think my team kind of use them both depending on things like availability of fonts and things like that. So quite technical things. I think Clipscribe is really good for that kind of work. When it comes to AI, I must admit, not really an expert in ChatGPT or AI or anything like that. But there are tools, firstly, that will use AI to do some of the repurposing for you. And I mentioned earlier things like, you know, we will take your blog post and through the power of AI, we'll turn it into tweets, or we'll turn it into LinkedIn posts and things like that. I must admit that I haven't used or tried anything like that I have felt is very good, like that works. Like I've never thought even one single tweet I would tweet out, like I would say it like they just don't think that there's anything that's got quite there yet. But of course, we mentioned earlier about time saving and the fact that I guess if it can give you a bit of a kind of a leg up and just start the process. So instead of sitting there from a blank canvas, you've got something to work from. That you can use tools like that. ChatGPT, and using that within the content repurposing world, like we haven't really started using that from like repurposing content perspective, but there are definitely lots of great things it can do to help you in content in general. For example, when you've come up with a blog title and you can say to it, come up with 5 alternatives that are a bit more click worthy and use this as the keyword and front load the keyword and things like that. And like that kind of ideation, like I think it's good at like ideation, like help to come up with different titles. You can put your blog posts in and ask it to give you it's trying to rank for this keyword, please review it and provide an assessment of where we could improve our SEO for this keyword and things like that. But it's less repurposing tips and more just general tips. But you know, when you've created that repurposed content, I see all these different ways that you can use it to help with ideas or certain enhancements on the content that you've created. But I just would say, like, be really careful of like the tools that do say that they will slice and dice. But I think like I probably would say that because I think that there's a real art and science to repurposing, and the snippets that you choose when you're deciding that you're going to take that longer piece of content like that video or podcast, and you're going to take a section that's going to go out as a LinkedIn post, let's say. You know, to me, I think there's a lot of thought that goes into that. I think you need to understand your audience on LinkedIn, and you need to choose a section that doesn't need anything that was said before and doesn't need anything that was said after to make it make sense, add value. And is this entertaining? Is it educational? You know, what are you trying to be? And you need to consider the copy that would go with it and things like that. So just the act of robot choose me a clip, it just tends to choose like really non-specific, like doesn't really make sense. So I'd say just be careful, because I see some people who are doing this and their quality of content has dropped so significantly. It could almost pinpoint the day they must have just started using AI tools.
And then you become a little boring.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So in a way, it helps people who aren't boring stand out even more, doesn't it? Because if there's a lot of that going on, and then you stand out.
No,
Any tips,
think,
Philip, on the old boring bit?
no, no, but I think it raises a very valid point in that you're right, Amy. AI tools can help you save time and structure, get ideas. But I think when you remove the human personality from your style of writing, like, yes, you can put into a chat GPT to analyze your style of writing and then it spits something out. But the whole beauty of why we have so many different authors, like my wife and daughter are voracious readers across a whole different spectrum of different authors. And my daughter will read certain books because she loves the writing style or the tone of voice. And you can only really, as far as I'm concerned, get that from being your own human personality, etc. So I think businesses, yes, you're right. I think they do need to balance between how they can use these tools to their benefit, but that they shouldn't replace. It shouldn't be just cut and paste what the AI tells me, absolutely, 100%. I suppose, to give you a good example, like for some of my YouTube videos, I have this Chrome extension called YouTube Summary, powered by ChatGPT. It's a real time saver. I can click on one of my YouTube videos. It automatically transcribes the whole YouTube video, so I can put into a blog if I wish. But I still have to go through it to check for grammar. Did it pick up a wrong
Americanism? Sorry, the way, because some things will be spelt with a Z.
But it's great time saver. It's a massive time saver. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, as I say, time is money and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is like, just so I can make sure I come across professionally here. I just wanted to say, is there kind of type of content that, you should really harness? Is it always going to be evergreen, play it safe with that? Or can you kind of flip it a little bit and, for example, AI has come in and, and you could be talking about that, but then 6 months down the line, it's not going to be relevant. So is it always best to repurpose evergreen content, or can you play outside the box, as I say?
I think it really does depend on, who you are and who you're creating content for and things like that. Because I guess in some industries and some, types of certain topics that you talk about, it must be almost impossible to be evergreen, really, if it's such a fast changing landscape and you're sharing what's going on at the moment or topical things and things like that. So I think it really does just depend on the audience you're serving and the types of content you're creating. But I think that if you have created something that is going to have a lifespan, it's not going to be evergreen. It's very specific to the next 3 or 4 months, and then you'll have to do the next version of this because things will have changed. But you're wanting to invest time and research into repurposing it. I guess it's just a case of just have a really clear plan of what you're repurposing to make sure that you're going to be able to distribute that content within the time frame that it's still relevant. So making sure that there's a clear distribution plan on top of the creation plan, and that it's feasible. So sometimes we've worked with people and the volume that they've wanted to create within the time frame that it would need to get out before it starts to become outdated.
So you're sort of, I was going to say, would that mean like seasonal, for example? The way like coming up now, everybody's thinking holiday mode, that way, and then before you know it, it's back to school, and then it's the dreaded Halloween and stuff like that. Is that something?
Use that again?
I know. I was going to say, like, this time last year, Philip was dressed up as a scarecrow, for Halloween. This year he is.
Was it?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I like that too.
But I'm trying to think of on a practical footing, because some people still kind of go, well, I know it's great to plan these things out, but is there a way that I can make the most out of this one piece of video, say, as you were saying, the Chrome extension, Philip, you can download the text off that and all that kind of thing. Is there that's what I'm trying to say, because there's people that are probably listening here and they're kind of going, well, it's all great, all this repurposing, but I kind of need something to kind of get me on the right road. So would you say work with the seasonal angle, maybe?
Yeah. So do you mean in terms of if you create something for Halloween this year, whatever, you'd be able to repurpose it for next year? So like creating repeatable seasonal content.
Yeah, maybe throw in hashtag Throwback Thursday. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could you get away with that?
I think it depends on your, I guess, like sensitivities over what kind of content you want to share with your audience and what the types of content are and things like that. And I think that there are certain, if you know that you're going to be repurposing, like say you were creating Halloween content, and you think we're going to put loads of effort into this, but we'll be able to share it again next year. Then you just need to bear that in mind with how you create it and the things that you say, just to make sure that you just don't have certain terminology that immediately dates it. So we've done that for sure, where we've thought we're going to spend ages on this animation. We can share it in next year or the year after as well. So we've reviewed it and gone, we'll take that out because that would date it immediately. So I think you have to think about what would date it then. Be thoughtful.
Maybe it's like, don't put the year in.
And just terminology that you say as well, last week or like, you can say that, you can slip the smallest of things in that just immediately make it quite like specific to that moment, that you can just, you don't need to say it in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Good point.
I think, like, I suppose, like all things, like these things can be very business specific or niche specific. And like if you have a blog, if you're a tech blog, or say maybe pensions or insurance, the legislation is constantly changing, say with pensions. So you're probably having to buy course going into some of your pension blogs and making sure that the relevant information is updated, rather than promoting and repurposing a blog where the information is not correct as such. Like, I suppose that kind of leads me on, Amy, like from your perspective, is there a sort of a like a time frame, as in kind of how often a business should consider repurposing their content? Or would it be of the mindset that, well, you might have some, campaign specific times around the year where you want to repurpose, but during the month, for good Google search ranking and just engine traffic, try to have some strategic repurposing during the month as well? Like, what would your take be on that? Like, should it be just certain times, or can you be repurposing every month, sometimes a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like most of the like companies that we tend to work with for repurposing, including ourselves and the practices we follow, we very much make it part of the episodic content that we're already creating anyway. So it's like it's aligned with the weekly podcast or the weekly video. It doesn't have to be weekly. So sometimes it's like every 2 weeks or twice monthly. But like aligned with that episodic. So it's like every time we create that, we follow this repurposing process, and we'll bear in mind the time difference between each episode. So say it's like every 2 weeks, then we'll be advising, well, what's the distribution of the repurposed content? Do you only want content going out in between the 2 episodes, or do you want content going out beyond the next episode and beyond, and kind of plan it all out? So I think if it's episodic like that, then you try and like fit in. But obviously not everyone has that kind of episodic content, and it might be more campaigns, or doing like one big cornerstone piece a month, a quarter, or like like quarterly webinar series and things like that. So I don't think it comes down to really like, is there a schedule that necessarily works for the repurposing? I think it probably starts at the higher level of the content strategy of like the bigger pieces. What are the big messages that you want to be getting out maybe over the next like 6 months or year? Like, what do you want to be known for? What are the big messages, right? There's like 5 big campaigns this year, which are going to be underpinned by 5 cornerstone articles, 5 webinar series and things like that. And then just like factoring in the repurposing into anything that you're creating, these bigger pieces, kind of factoring in there. So it kind of starts at like what
Yeah.
what is the message this year,
Yes.
and how is it going to
Yes.
be communicated? And the repurposing is just the icing on the cake of be it adding more effective systems and processes to support the different channels that you're on, really,
Yes.
through conveying that message.
Yeah,
I like the way you said icing on the cake there.
Yeah, another food reference.
oh Lord, looks like it's going to be welcome to Let's Get Social with Emer and Amy. That's had enough of these bacon allergies.
The recipe for success.
Yeah, like you just remind me there, Amy, as you were speaking, that an area that I think a lot of companies sometimes overlook when they're thinking about what are we going to post is their website, what they already have on there. Because I've had great success with previous clients, and even where I worked previously on previous occasions, where just even kind of digging down into repurposing an organization's, maybe their brand values, or this is the about us, or some behind the scenes, that can be a fantastic way to repurpose that content in a new way and bring some new life and see some new audience members, etc. So I thought I'd just throw that in. That kind of, once again, is just for listeners to start look at your website. The interesting pages, mission statements that could be repurposed nicely, in a strategic way.
Internal meetings that like broadcasts, communications that if some of it's internal, but many of it's suitable external as well. It's all there. Yeah, you don't have to have a weekly podcast or do webinars and things like that. There's all these different ways that you're communicating, like you said, internally. Many of it can be brought to the forefront and shared with your audience and customers and things like that. Definitely.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, Amy, it's like repurposing does have great value. It's a great time saver, as we were saying. Is it, when it comes to the planning, I'm trying to think now because I need to do a bit more myself. You've got me motivated. Would it be a game changer for someone to say, right, one day a month, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to take out whatever's been working really well and look at how I can repurpose it, as they say? Is that a good strategy for saving time for people? Because all of a sudden every week you go, I'll sit down this week, blah, blah, blah. Is it a good idea on the first of the month, say, to sit down and just go, I'm going to do that? Would that be
I think so. I think that like earlier when I mentioned, when we were talking about tools, and I kind of said it's good to manage it with something like Trello, get organized, look at it in process way, like things like that. I agree. I think that you need to not make it something a one day thing, and sometimes I do it and things like that, but bring that structure in. So I'd align it with like, what bigger pieces of content are you going to create, and then have that day a month or whatever it suits you, but where you're going to like work out the repurposing and effect that repurposing. But I'd just say that it's about doing it one step at a time as well, because I kind of mentioned it earlier as well, but not trying to bite off more than you can chew. Another food reference there.
I think we're trying to say to Let's Get Baking, Amy. Let's forget about the social media.
Chocolate cake.
Welcome to Let's Get Baking.
That'd be cool. But one step at a time. Put the time aside. Diarize it. It's that cliche, isn't it? Something like, if you don't diarize it, it doesn't get done, or something like that. To set up the process, follow it, repeat that process until it's just a habit now, that every time you create that, you always do this afterwards, that it's just a habit. You don't even think about it anymore. It's what you do. And then start looking at adding the next thing that you could do. And just think about your audience, the platforms that they're on, not whether everyone's shouting out that you need to get on TikTok or you need to do this, but just where are your audience? What's the most effective place that you could initially be? And look at those different ways you communicate messages. So like I was saying in the first episode, that it's about connecting with people. So if you're just going to embark small, think about a different format, because not everybody listens. So that one different format could be to written or to visual or to video, but just a different format and a different place. just stick with it, get good at it, then add the next step on. But yeah, I think you do need to make it more of a system, more of a process, not just some willy-nilly thing sometimes, but like actually embed it into what you're doing.
And then you get better and faster at doing it then.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you learn along the way,
exactly.
Yeah.
Your systems, what took you an hour starting to take you 45 minutes, giving you 15 minutes free. So let's add something else on there and so on. So yeah, just setting the time aside, but it's all content creation. So really work out how much time you've got for creating content overall, and then just divide the split up. What percentage of that do you want to make that focusing on the core? And then what percentage of that should be repurposing it? So it's not really a different amount of time, it's a different way of focusing your time.
And it's less scary for you as well, you know, because we're all busy and you're kind of going, did I do that? No, you know.
Exactly.
Like a big kind of, I suppose, topic that would be on a lot of business owners' lips is SEO and search engine optimization. Like it would be right to say that content repurposing is fantastic for your SEO, because you're creating what Google loves, you know, consistent, engaging, relevant content for your audience, and repurposing content in a systematic way is perfect. Would that be fair to say in your experience?
I think from an SEO perspective, there's lots of benefits, because obviously you're creating more content, more links back to your content, you're getting more consistent. So as you mentioned, like sending those messages to Google and other search engines that you are consistently creating content. But you do still have to make sure that if you're going for an SEO play, so you're putting that blog post on your website and you're hoping to rank for specific keywords, you still making sure that you factor in the process that you're therefore going to go through, like incorporating that keyword into the right places in the right ways, focusing on quality, of course, but focusing on SEO principles. And also, you know, you want to be getting those links back to your content to help with SEO as well from reputable sources and things like that. So the more you're doing to repurpose that article and get that message out there, and the more people are noticing it, and then hopefully starting to link to it because they see it as a source of information for their audience as well, that's going to help with SEO too. So I think you have to think, if it's an SEO play, there's a bit more thought that you're going to be putting into it for that. But all the additional content and brand awareness is only going to help with the SEO overall. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, because it's certain people might put certain questions in and you wouldn't appear, but then you might put another question and then you do appear. So again, it's kind of getting an idea of what people are searching for. Maybe, as you say, repurpose to fit with that search.
If you're repurposing a podcast episode, for example, or a YouTube video that had a particular title that would be great on Apple Podcasts and things like that, but your blog post is for SEO, then you might have a completely different title. And I was saying about the angle, and you might flip the angle because you've done your keyword research, and for that topic that you spoke about on your podcast, the keyword you want to rank for is this, which didn't feature in the title of the podcast or the podcast show notes, but you can do a blog post that would still be covering the same point and still not take you as long as a blank canvas. So repurpose the episode, you've done the research, it's got a different title, it starts and ends slightly differently because you've gone for the SEO play. So that's where the angle, flipping the angle a little bit and doing the research, you don't have to have the same title for your video, your podcast, your blog post, you can come at it from different angles.
So it's a good way to test things as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to ask you if we still have time, Philip. Do we still have time?
You can ask one more question. You have
we could be on for another third. It could be a third show. What about the upcoming trends? And I know you're going to come in with TikTok at some stage here, and anything regarding innovating going forward with content purposing. What's your thoughts, Amy? You know, because a lot has changed since we were on our last show together back almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
What do you see or are starting to see, would you say?
Do you mean from a platform perspective, like which
Well,
platforms?
whatever, you know what I mean? Is it like, for to make the most, is there kind of something you say, look, I can see this coming down the tracks kind of thing, when it comes to, maybe consider this for repurposing? Or is it like the platform themselves? Is it like that because they're changing? I mean, like there's Instagram and now you can have 5 links in the bio. Well, you have the one and you click through, but
and Twitter Blue, you can have, I think it's 4,500 characters or something, and it's completely paid for now as well. So.
That's so different now. But I think I think you already said it really, but the short form videos just aren't going anywhere, and they are the most popular form of content.
Yes.
Reels is the most popular part of Instagram. Shorts is really popular on YouTube now. We've had channels that engage with, channels that are sharing short vertical videos that mainly people look at in the app are getting more like love from the platform as well. Of course, TikTok. And I think that it comes down to being really good at sharing your message in really bite-sized formats, because people are just so, it's just such a snackable way of consuming content. And busy, people love that. But so I think that it sounds like a really obvious answer, but it really is that the thing that we're seeing, which is that short form video content is the big player at the moment, and looking at ways that we can repurpose content into short form content, looking at being more platform specific across the different platforms. But then other platforms like LinkedIn, and they've had forays into the short form video side of things, and it hasn't worked out so well. But I think that is a major thing. But maybe just it, like, whether it's video or not, I think the most important thing is the ones that are doing really well are the ones that are just really clever at being able to communicate in the shortest, most summarized way possible on all the platforms. So Twitter might have added like the blue account where you can add like practically put a blog post into to a tweet.
I couldn't sit and read. I couldn't sit and read a tweet that's over 280 characters. You know what I mean? Like I just couldn't. I get.
No.
Oh, I'll come back to that.
Yeah,
you never
would. Yeah, what is the point of that? But I think I suppose it's going like full circle in social media, because it was what Twitter was all about in the first place anyway. But it is just about being more succinct. I think like it is just about being able to break down points, and the winners are the people who can communicate most creatively and effectively in the shortest formats possible, that entices and builds the brand enough that people want to go and look at your longer or listen to or watch your longer content, built up over time, and people want to go and consume it.
It's almost like you get good at really creating those hooks. Here's a snack piece of content you're gonna love. Get the bigger picture. So
exactly.
Amy, it's been another super show.
Yes, indeed.
It's hard to believe we're nearly at the end. But if people didn't hear you on episode 1, and definitely go back to the podcast to listen to the first show with Amy, and obviously part 1 of this 2-part show, where would you like people to go and learn more about you, Amy?
It would be our website, I think, Content 10x. So content10x.com. Because you can find lots of useful information about repurposing, the blog, the podcast, etc. And then say hi, let me know you heard me on the radio, saw me on the YouTube channel, listen to the podcast.
Absolutely.
Amy Woods, Content 10x, you'll find me.
Short and sweet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I said, if you enjoyed if today's show was really got you moving forward with repurposing your content, you can, as I say, catch it on the podcast on Dublin South FM, on Podbeam, iTunes, and Spotify, and wherever else you can. We're everywhere, as I say. We're trying to repurpose that, aren't we, Philip?
Yes,
and then from there, of course, YouTube. So you can catch us there, ring the bell, and leave us a comment if you'd like, and subscribe and all that fun stuff.
And if you have any other ideas for a show, or maybe you want to do a part 3 in relation to content repurposing, drop us an email to inquiries@dublinsouthfm.ie.
Yeah. So, Amy,
Amy,
you survived again. Well done.
Thank
we've,
you. It's
and
been
we've
great.
benefited from your learnings. So we will continue
Yeah.
to repurpose as much as we can. And every continued success to you. Are you going to be
Definitely.
doing more speaking gigs? Because I know you're great at content marketing world, I think, isn't it? And you
I
speak
was
well,
at
yeah?
Content Marketing
Yeah.
World last year over in Cleveland, Ohio, but I'm not
Yeah.
going this year. It's in Washington, DC.
Very good.
I have I've done a few this year already, but I don't
Yeah.
have anything booked in much for the rest of the year. Just a few
Well,
little things, but nothing big.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you never know. This, I'm sure there'll be something coming down the pipeline.
Of
no
course.
doubt,
Yeah.
So listen, every continued success going forward with everything you're
Oh.
doing. So it's been great. So
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
listen, take care.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye bye.